Well, happy Thursday, everybody. David Jackson with you from the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. It is October 10th. We are just about full with another week here and lots of information to get to you today. We've got three main business topics to get to you today. One of those being House Bill 149 that was signed into law by Governor Roy Cooper earlier today. Unanimous vote in the House and Senate yesterday on this bill that's got $273 million worth of hurricane aid in it for Western North Carolina as part of the Disaster Recovery Act of 2024. It is the first piece of legislation that will deal with some of these issues, and the North Carolina General Assembly already telegraphing that they're going to be back in session in a couple of weeks and will likely take up much more relief in a more targeted way. We're also going to talk some about SBA products that are out there and available. At the SBA Business Resource Center up and running here in Watauga County over at the Appalachian Enterprise Center. The FEMA Disaster Recovery Center got married with that today. So both of those operations are in the same facility on the Poplar Grove Connector right in the middle of downtown Boone. And some of the SBA disaster loan products that are out there are very understandable and known and maybe even part of our more recent dictionary because of COVID. But there are a lot of other products that are available that maybe aren't necessarily getting the notoriety and could free up some working capital now that you could use to your benefit in the short term and have some pretty favorable loan terms with these disaster loans in the long run as well. So part of this is a little bit of a numbers game that has to do as much with your cash flow and your current situation from a business operations standpoint as anything. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Helene business recovery loans that are being offered by Mountain Biz Works and give you some talking points about the types of businesses that might be well positioned to see that as a bridge opportunity, maybe even before you can get into some of these SBA loans. We had some really good conversation with governmental and agency partners today. I think it goes without saying that there is a lot of talk right now at both the state and federal level about what that next aid package looks like. Congress up at the federal level has not done anything yet, and certainly they're working on that timeline and working on what a package could look like. Certainly not only for us, but Florida, of course, is dealing with Hurricane Milton, and they had to deal with Helene themselves too. So there are a lot of moving parts with federal legislation. At the state level, we've got some things that have been ironed out that we'll be sharing with you here in just a moment. So sit back and get your pen out because we've got plenty to share. And then we're going to kind of wrap things up with a little bit on where the talking points are for what we're expected to see this weekend. Certainly, if you've been driving around Boone today, tourists are starting to find the area once again. There is still the complication of a travel advisory for this part of the state that is being put out there in a lot of the places where tourists go to look for road information, but also thinking about how and really what we need tourists to do as they come back into the community and just understand it's not the same place as it was a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to get into all of that. This one may take a few minutes. So let's get into House Bill 149 first and appreciate Ray Pickett and Senator Ralph Heiss and their advocacy for Western North Carolina. Of course, Senator Heiss was in Spruce Pine when the storm hit. Ray Pickett was here in Watauga County and has been very involved with local leadership from the county and the town as all of this has gone on and Blowing Rock leadership as well. So here's kind of what things are. I mentioned $273 million. That grabs a lot of headlines, but you also know that in governmental dollars, right, that doesn't go as incredibly far when you start thinking about some of the big picture administrative things that they're looking to tackle with this particular bill. So there are some fundamental things, and I'm not going to go too in deep on these, but $250 million of that package is going to go to the Department of Public Safety. This is important for it being a state match for some federal programs that allow for functionality of the local government and will begin part of the process of local governments being able to be reimbursed for some of the activity that they have had to bear in the wake of the storm and the state wanting to make sure that is made whole as much as possible. Some good flexibility and money given to the Department of Public Instruction. Really, I think the highlights of that are calendar flexibility, which is certainly going to come into play here, and also making sure that employees are taken care of from storm-related time away from school. So $16 million to the Department of Public Instruction specifically to supplement or replace lost compensation for school nutrition departments due to the school closure. And then later legislation in terms of, or language rather, in terms of employee compensation to make sure that days count as worked for our local school system and state employees. I think it's also important to point out that these have been among some of the most active volunteers that we have seen in some of the community centers and the food and supply distribution venues. So it's great to know that the state is making provisions to make sure that they are not harmed any financially for not being able to go to work like they normally would. I mentioned school calendar flexibility, the state giving the impacted counties leeway in figuring out how they can make up dates, how many dates they have to make up. And I'm sure that Watauga County Schools will have some further detail on exactly what their plan will be. But this bill allows them to have the flexibility to make that plan. We also saw some things related to the election. $5 million by the State Board of Elections for just making sure that the election can occur in Western North Carolina, and also giving local boards of elections some flexibility to do some things to move around polling places that may have been impacted or lost due to stormwaters or other damage. This gives them flexibility to make adjustments at this time to ensure that the vote can be cast by everybody that wants to cast a vote. You also probably saw us put out some information from Matt Snyder yesterday about opportunities for people to be able to have absentee ballots brought to them and processed for them. This is a program that is usually done in places like nursing homes, assisted living facilities, where a multi-partisan team will go out and offer that absentee ballot, let the person fill it out, seal it in an envelope, and take it back to the Board of Elections for it to be counted. And all of that is done with bipartisan workers. So that program has been expanded a little bit to get to parts of the community that access may be an issue for folks that are not necessarily in those traditional places. So that is a functional piece of House Bill 149. There's also some language about that rapid recovery loan through Mountain Biz Works I talked about, just to make sure that there is equitable distribution for underutilized small businesses. And that factors into some of the businesses that are up here too. Here's the big part to this that I think is going to be the most helpful for businesses here, and that is around taxes. So there is in this bill relief on the accrual of interest on franchise, corporate income, and individual tax returns from September 25th through May 1st, if the taxpayer is located in an affected county, which is in that disaster declaration. And all of the high country counties certainly qualify for that. There's also no interest on sales use tax or withholding tax. So what that really means is that if you are unable to make those tax payments through either your financial loss or just can't even get to the post office to make those payments right now, if you're on quarterlies or if you're paying your sales and withholding tax, you've got flexibility, at least in that they're not going to charge you interest. And that's got a specific sunset date in November on that for right now, but it does buy a little bit of time, especially for those businesses that have seen big loss. They might not have the cash flow to be able to do that right now. The state is saying, we're not going to charge you interest if you pay those payments a little bit late. So that is understandable. And you want to check the fine points of the bill to make sure that there are no other provisions in there as well. There's a construction fee moratorium that's passed along in this as well. Permits, inspections, certificate of occupancy fees tied to things that are hurricane related. So repairs and things of that nature, all of those fees are waived as long as, again, those things are hurricane related. There's also one little interesting thing I think that's relevant for this part of the state because of the number of state employees that have worked here. If you are a retired state employee, that's a teacher or regular old state employee, and you retired between April 1st and October 1st, that 6-month window that you've got where you can't go to work for another state agency, that has been dropped to a month. Provided that the return to work is due to hurricane impact. So let's say you retired 2 months ago. Let's say you retired 2 months ago and you thought you were on easy street. Now you're getting ready to ride down to Disney World and live the good life, right? But because of something related to the hurricane, maybe repairs to your home, some other financial loss, that no longer works financially for you. Well, now the state is saying you could potentially go back to that previous state employer or take another job within a state agency and only have that 1 month window of separation where normally it is 6. So hopefully that this can get some folks back into the workforce that need to, and also can help out. There goes that light again, right? Here we go. It goes back into also helping out some of the state agency partners that may need to staff up during this time and having a little broader pool to be able to do so. So that is House Bill 149. It has been signed, sealed, and delivered and is law now in the state of North Carolina. And again, our local legislators had a lot to do with that language. All right, so let's talk about SBA here for a second. Lots of questions about this over the last couple of days, and we had a great opportunity today to be visited by Francisco Sanchez Jr. He is the Associate Administrator for the SBA's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. He was able to come and meet with a group of chamber members today to really speak candidly about what some of these programs are, how they can benefit, how SBA has actually changed their products over time, especially since most of us were really kind of in that space back during COVID. And quite honestly, just what is available to people. We hear a lot about EIDL, but there's more than that. So wanted to take just a couple of minutes and go over that because there are several provisions. So SBA offers disaster loans for homeowners and renters. This is separate from FEMA, right? You are eligible for FEMA money. And then the SBA, of course, you've got your insurance and you can play those revenue streams a little bit to mitigate your loss. So let's talk about the disaster loans available for homeowners and renters. Those benefits include a low interest fixed rate for up to 30 years, no payment, no interest for 12 months. Up to $500,000 rather to cover damage to primary residences, up to $100,000 to replace personal property. That includes vehicles, funds available to build back and protect against future disasters. Some mitigation language there, and no need to wait for your insurance to settle before applying. That is for homeowners and renters. There is separate SBA product availability for businesses and nonprofits. So benefits of a disaster loan in this category include up to $2 million to cover physical damage or financial losses, low fixed rate interest with terms up to 30 years. Again, no payment, no interest for the first 12 months. No need to wait on that insurance, and still, again, the same thing, funds available to build back and protect against future disasters, okay? And then a little bit more language around what the benefits of working capital loan for small businesses and nonprofits. Again, that $2 million to meet ordinary and necessary financial obligations. The low fixed interest rate, again, no payment, no interest for 12 months, no need to wait for insurance on settling. All of these attachments are available in your chamber report tonight. They're available on boonechamber.com. I would encourage you to look through these. One of the strategies that we discussed today with the group was how you can use this no interest, no payment, short-term capital, right? To be able to be utilized for some of your short-term cash flow needs, and think down the road a little bit about what your cash flow might look like for the next year, and how some money available now, cash available now, might play into your overall business plan. You may find that once we get through these crazy 2 weeks that we've been dealing with and get some of our economy back up to a spot that is beginning to produce for us once again, like we've seen it in prior times, you may find that your cash flow situation allows you to pay these things off before you ever have to have interest accrue on them. But what it offers is flexibility. That was something that the SBA encouraged us to share, and also to just apply. If you are in any kind of position as a homeowner, as a business owner, whether that's for-profit, nonprofit, apply for the aid. SBA will take you through the process. That can be done with other SBA loans. That was a popular question today. What if I had a COVID EIDL loan? What if I've got another SBA loan? Am I still eligible to apply? The answer is yes. If you've got other loans that you've got, you can still add this to your portfolio. One of the things was that while your credit score may get pinged for the loan application, the process at the beginning, this won't show up as debt on your credit report moving forward either. So that was an important thing to note there as well. But the general rule of thumb was apply. This works along with FEMA. This works along with your insurance. And this may be something that can get businesses some short-term operating capital to make repairs, to get back to a place where, as things begin to turn back around here, you're going to be in position to be able to do the business that you need to do. So I would encourage you to look at those handouts. We've got great contacts with the SBA that you can ask questions to. Happy to get you in touch with those folks. And again, we have the Business Resource Center that's open on the Poplar Grove Connector that you can ask those questions right here in Boone and get answers from people that are right there in the field. Interesting note today, too. I was over at the Business Resource Center and the FEMA office that's been set up for disaster recovery. And I thought it was just interesting to note that all of the people that are working there, all of the agents that have come here from other communities to work with our businesses and homeowners to try to get them on a road to recovery, these are all people that have lost everything before themselves. These are all storm victims. There was one gentleman that's in the community that was impacted down in the Virgin Islands, another one that was impacted in Puerto Rico, several from Texas, several from Florida, all places that have had to deal with this. And they were people that were sitting on the same side of the table that many of us are in asking for aid, trying to understand the process. So the level of empathy is very high because they have been where you are. So this is a situation where I know a lot of these people might be new to our area, but they can talk in a very friendly language, again, because they understand your pain. They understand why you are asking the questions that you are. So check out those handouts. Let us know if you have any questions. Do want to touch on that Mountain Biz Works program again. Excellent program that's been spun up by our partners at Mountain Biz Works, along with the North Carolina Rural Center and the Golden Leaf Foundation. Helene Business Recovery Loans. This is a rapid loan decision process, aiming for about 7 to 10 days in the decision making. These are designed to bridge SBA and FEMA insurance, other long-term recovery funding. Very streamlined application process, no credit score minimum, no closing costs or fees, no prepayment penalty. And defaulted loans are subject to commercial collection processes, just like everything else. But again, these agencies that are offering these things are pretty lenient when it comes to understanding hardship for the people that are getting these. The eligibility for this Mountain Biz Works Helene disaster loan, for-profit established businesses, you have to have been in business for at least 6 months, based in SBA declared disaster areas, which is us, fewer than 100 employees, and you had to be impacted by the storm in some way, which again, that applies to all of us. So we've got links to that program. They've got a great website, very informative. Many of you have had interaction with Mountain Biz Works before. They had the scale up program that several of our local businesses went through over the years. They are, they had the, remember the, I'm trying to think of the term. It was a loan or a grant program, or a loan program rather, that we had back in the early part of COVID, that was allowing people to get some short-term access to capital as well. So Mountain Biz Works, this is kind of what they do. They work with partners to amass assets that can be used in a way to provide short-term capital to businesses. So between the SBA products that are much more well-defined and easy to understand, hopefully, between conversations with your local lender. We talked to a number of our local banks today that are getting creative with their customers and clients, trying to help them with, that cash flow management, something that we told you to do early on in the process. Just contact your local lender. All of these folks here are here to help. And I think that this help is going to be important, because I also think that we're getting closer to seeing some things begin to change in a real way in our community. And let me explain that as we kind of wrap things up here. So there has been a lot of work by a number of partners within the tourism community. Had a great conversation today with Wright Tilley of the Explore Boone. You know him as that, but he works with the Boone and Watauga County Tourism Development Authorities. Charles Harden from the Blowing Rock Chamber was in the office today, just kind of talking about the way that Watauga County messages what is possible here moving forward. And I think that messaging is really kind of coming into some divine ways. App State, as we mentioned yesterday, they're coming back to class Those students will begin probably arriving over the weekend as Condition 3, which is an operational condition at App State, closes at 5 o'clock on Friday, or moves into a new condition at 5 o'clock on Friday. So expect to see some traffic come back. Those of you businesses that cater to students, or maybe have staff members that are students, you're going to see those people coming back to our community very, very quickly. But it's also going to bring other people, right? It's just going to. We understand that. So what we're asking is for just people to be tread lightly, have some grace, and understand. This is not the same community that you left a couple of weeks ago. There are parts of our county that are still very much dealing with recovery issues. There are roads that are down to one lane. There was a major artery, Wilson's Ridge Road in Watauga County, that was closed again and will be for several weeks as they make some long-term repairs on that road. We've got some patchwork situations that are just going to have to be worked on over time. And that's going to be lane closures and slow travel, right? So don't go to the areas of our community that we are still very actively trying to put back together again, with power loss, with internet loss, and other connectivity. Those are the places that you need to avoid. We are asking you to avoid those places and prioritize day trips, right? There is opportunity to thrive in the city centers. Those resources have come back on a lot stronger. We are seeing that our hotel inventory, a lot of that is filled up with people that are here as aid workers. There are a lot of displaced families in local hotels. There are a lot of folks that are coming up here to help restore some of the connectivity that we've been talking about, and they need those rooms right now. We need to prioritize those spaces. But there's also creativity in how you can come up here with day tripping. Come up here and eat and shop and eat some more and shop some more and get that last dinner, grab a tank of gas, and then head out of the community, as we still will be under a curfew from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And that is primarily in place because of the looting that is going on at night. And that gives law enforcement officers a little bit more leeway to know that people are out doing stuff that they're not supposed to do, and that may tip them off into stopping some of the looting that we're seeing, and especially in some of the supply areas. So that's kind of the message. For those of you that are still trying to support businesses from afar, and we have seen that and felt that from all over the world, really. People are reaching out. You can still amplify your favorite local business's message on social media. That is very helpful, much more so than some of you may think. We've still heard people just today. I know a gentleman from Greensboro called up to Phys Ed and gave them some money and just said, hey, somebody needs a meal, pay for it. I know you guys are out of pocket for a lot of this, so here you go. Here's a way for you to pay that. But we also know that we're getting to the point where gift cards aren't going to keep us going. We have been fortunate to get to the point that we are in right now because of the support from Off the Mountain. We are going to see the return from people off the mountain, and we need them to embrace us and embrace those businesses and hug your favorite store owner and all that kind of stuff. But we've got to be able to do that in a mindful and respectful way, because some of those people that are interacting with you at the store are, again, displaced. They've lost everything, and they're living in a hotel and trying to put it all back together again, while they also need a job, and they're working to work with you as best they can, right? So just understand that we've been through a lot. The whole Western North Carolina has been through a lot. This is not just a Watauga County issue. I think you're going to see communities, as they are able to see more volume, have similar messages like this. We are not going to be able to crank things up to Led Zeppelin. We're going to have to start at Sinatra and slowly work our way up, right? But we know that with students coming back and some of the folks that are coming up, we just have to be proactive in messaging how we need people to behave. And I'd also say this too: this community looks a whole lot different today on Thursday than it did on Monday. Right? These things are changing, and we will continue to update you as conditions change. But for right now, as we know that we're going to get to see more people, we're gonna have to just communicate what those expectations are, and that's what we've got right now. I would also say this for those of you that are planning on coming up, maybe the Blue Ridge Parkway is one of your things to do. That is not going to be one of your things to do this year. The Parkway is closed indefinitely throughout North Carolina. It will be closed for quite some time. There is significant infrastructure work that must be done, not the least of which is just removing trees, over 10,000 of them down on the Parkway alone. But there are significant infrastructure issues with the road itself. And from what National Park Service folks are telling the local tourism partners here, you're not going to be on the Blue Ridge Parkway anytime soon. And really, you venturing out on the Parkway is counterproductive to some of those repair efforts. It's a dangerous situation out there. They're very similar to what we said early on in some of our infrastructure issues here in Watauga County. There are parts that look okay until you step on it. You can get in a bad place really, really quickly. So avoid the temptation. There are plenty of pictures that are out there of how things transpired here. Trust those right now. I usually don't tell you to trust a whole lot, in some of those crazy social media circles, but this is one that for right now, we need you to just trust and understand that it is better for you to view things like that there than venture out into places where repair work is still going on and people need you to still stay away. So we're going to talk more about this. I think you'll see some combined messaging coming out of Watauga County TDA and the Chamber and other partners a little bit later on this week and as we get into the weekend. And folks, just bear with us. We wish, believe me, we wish that we were communicating a different message. We wish that we were communicating a message that was a little bit more point blank, but it's just not. There are places in our community that are going to struggle to have volume for months. There are places in our community that are not going to have power for months. That's part of our reality right now. We're not going to hide from it, and we're not going to tell you anything that's not the truth. So that's it. But we also know, as I've said before, that part of our community's recovery is going to be about how we embrace the people that have loved this place so well over the last couple of weeks and are going to continue to love us well as we move forward. And they're going to be a part of that healing. And we've just got to do that in a measured way. So thanks for bearing with us. Know that it's going to get better as more time goes on. Keep this Chamber of Commerce weather coming, right? The sunny skies have been helpful. They've aided a lot of recovery work, certainly, and hopefully that will allow more of that to go on here in the next several days and weeks ahead. All right. So any questions, let us know. I know this was a lot tonight. Hopefully these things will get a whole lot shorter, but we had a lot of information. Wanted to make sure that you got that and were able to process it this evening. Thank you very much for all of your support, for all of the well wishes and just emotion that has been shown to our community. As I've said before, we've said thank you a lot, but we can never say it enough. And we look forward to everybody having a safe rest of your week and look forward to talking to you again soon. Good night, everybody.